Welcome everyone. This is Rob Sanders from Simplilearn, and today we're going to talk about how to increase Twitter followers. So welcome and let's get started. So with Twitter, it's all about tweets. It's actually a verb now. When you do something on Twitter, you actually tweet. And there are a lot of people out there tweeting. In fact, Twitter has over 1.3 billion accounts. So a lot of tweets going on in the world of Twitter. So as of the third quarter in 2018, last year, Twitter had 326 million global monthly active users. Okay, so active meaning every day, using the platform on a daily basis. So a lot of people using Twitter. It's very easy to use, as you'll find out. And what you're going to find out today is how to increase followers on your Twitter account so they can see more of your tweets. Okay, a little bit more about Twitter. There are 500 million tweets posted every single day. That's a lot of tweets. So you can imagine with every tweet is a hashtag that accompanies that tweet. So a lot of information being disseminated across the platform. So tweets with videos, so Twitter does allow videos as well as images, attracts 10 times more engagement than other forms of content. So if you watched our YouTube videos and some of the other videos we had out there regarding Facebook or Instagram, you'll know that videos do perform better. Twitter is no exception. So if you have a video, even if it's done on YouTube or if it's not published on YouTube, use it with Twitter. You're going to get more engagement. So Twitter has 75% of its users use the platform for news. Okay, so people go to Twitter to get their news. That's where they go. They don't go to a regular website, content-based website. They get their news via Twitter. It's just very easy to digest because it's so few characters. 75% of B2B businesses market on Twitter. So not only is it a B2C or business to consumer platform, it's a B2B, business to business platform. So a lot of businesses are on Twitter basically promoting either a product, service, or trying to establish themselves in the industry using the platform. So let's take a look at Twitter and let's take a look at some of the ways in which you can increase your followers. It all starts with your profile. You always want to make sure you have a complete profile. Your name, obviously the Twitter platform that you have is going to have a handle. Okay, in this example here, it's a totally real person. At totally real person is the Twitter handle, and that's what you're going to want to use to disseminate your Twitter profile to others. So you want to make sure that you have a good image, you have a real name, and a good handle that people can associate with and remember. So you want to be able to set up this profile with a keyword-friendly bio, okay? A link to your website and a picture that represents your brand always helps. So make sure it's complete. You can even take a step further by customizing the color scheme of your profile. You can add a header image that sticks to your theme that will help your profile stand out. And so let's take a look at an example here. So if I go to Twitter, here, if we go to Simplilearn, it's Twitter account, okay, their handle is simply at Simplilearn, okay, and they've customized the header, they use their logo. Now, if you're an individual, you probably want to use a nice profile pic here, where they're based, a little bit about them. So just a customized complete profile goes a long way. You don't have to go overboard with an elaborate design, so to speak, but just make it stand out, make it associate with who you are as a person and a brand. Those are best practices in getting that profile up and running. You don't want to use something bland and generic. Take the extra step, create something unique, make sure your profile is unique, you have a good image, okay, make sure it's complete with, telling people who you are and what you're all about. That's really the first step on really any social media platform. So you want to promote your Twitter profile to drive users from other social media platforms. So when you actually get that Twitter account set up and you actually do have your handle, go ahead and share it. That's the first step in getting followers. If you're already on Facebook, if you're already on Instagram, then use those platforms to announce that you're on Twitter. You can also take that a step further and, send out an email to friends or family, or like I said, if you're on Facebook, go ahead and set up a post. Say, hey guys, I'm on Twitter, come follow me. So you could also use business cards, advertisements, marketing materials, and events to put that Twitter profile on. Okay, so it doesn't have to be within the social media sphere. It could be even on your website. It can be even in email. So you can basically promote that profile. Again, you want to make that profile, that handle, easy to remember. So totally real person is the profile in this example. We're going to use that profile everywhere we can, whether that be offline or online. You don't be afraid to use it on a business card, especially if it's easy. I can just simply go to Twitter and type in that handle. So you want to stay active on Twitter with regular retweets, replies, and favorites. And it's just so easy to retweet and reply and add favorites. So let's take a look at that on Twitter. So you could just simply, I'm logged in as me. And if I want to retweet something that Simplilearn did, I can just simply click on the retweet button and I can add a comment if I want to, and then I'm going to retweet. It's that simple. So now that tweet is going to show up on my profile, my handle. And I could simply like it. If I scroll down here, okay, top 10 IT trends shaping 2019. Notice a simple tweet supported with an image. So I'm just going to like that. So I can even comment on it. I can click on the comment and click a reply here. Okay, and that's going to show up in this tweet here. Just like if I click on this, I'll be able to see what other people have written. And so it's that simple. If I want, I can just click on the email button and even send a message to somebody right from that tweet. The point is, I can do everything I need to do right in the platform. But to get started, if you don't have any tweets, go and find other companies similar to you, look at their tweeting, and you can always retweet that. That's a good way to get going with tweets. That's what I started doing when I started on Twitter in 2008. I didn't know what to write particularly, and I didn't know how to write it particularly well. So I looked at what other people wrote and tweeted and just retweeted those. That's a good way to get your Twitter account started. Okay, so engaging with users is a great way to get more followers. So on Simplilearn, I retweeted one of their tweets. I liked another one of their tweets, and it's probably going to get their attention. Somebody at Simplilearn is going to say, okay, Rob Sanders went ahead and liked us. And you know what? We're going to go follow this guy. He seems to be somebody who's an audience member, who likes what we have to do, likes what we have to say, like what we're tweeting. Let's go ahead and follow him. And so that's a good way to get going with your Twitter account, is to really start retweeting and liking other tweets from other users. So you can find an appropriate time to post your tweets to increase exposure, retweets, and followers. And you want to do this, you could do it within Twitter, or as I'll mention later, you can do it in a social media platform like Sprout Social or Hootsuite or Later or Buffer. I mean, there's plenty of social media platforms out there for you to schedule tweets. Point is, you want to be able to schedule those tweets when it's the appropriate time. So you don't want to do it in the middle of the evening, because what's going to happen is, likely by the morning, other tweets are going to bury your tweet. So you want to be able to find the appropriate time to post your tweets. So according to a survey conducted by HubSpot, the best time to post is between 12 and 3 p.m. And why is that? Well, most people are usually on lunch, checking their phones. Yes, Twitter has an app. And in fact, most people use the app, just like on Instagram, just like on YouTube. The app is very popular on Twitter, so it's very easy for somebody to check tweets, especially during the lunch hour. And then from 5 to 6 p.m., that in-between time when people are wrapping up work or heading home. Okay, so weekdays have shown to have the maximum amount of engagement. So during the week, when people are working, highly engaged with whatever they're doing, depending on what industry you're in, they're likely going to check the Twitter and react during those times. Okay, so that was a survey conducted by HubSpot, but really what you want to do is you want to be able to use one of these social media platforms like a Hootsuite or Later and find out exactly when are people engaging with your tweets? What time of the day and what day of the week are you getting the most retweets or the most likes? Okay, that's what you want to do. So you can use this as a starting point, as a best practice, but eventually you're going to have to cater to your audience based on when you're getting your tweets engaged. So you want to increase followers by following more people. It's that simple. And so it really is that simple. Let me rephrase that. So it really is that simple. So if I go back to Twitter, Twitter's always going to recommend somebody for me to follow. And normally those are people that are similar as myself. Okay, so they're not just going to choose random people. They're going to choose people who are following people you're following. So there's going to be a connection to some degree. Or they could be people who use similar hashtags, tweeting the same content. So you want to go ahead and follow people. The rule of thumb on Twitter is if you follow somebody on Twitter, chances are they're going to follow you back. I was once told when I was using Twitter that, hey, you want to give somebody about 3 days to follow you back. So that's always what the rule I stuck to. Wait about 3 days, start following people. You can see here 833 people or accounts, Twitter accounts that Simplilearn's following, and over 10,900 followers to Simplilearn's Twitter account. So for me, I don't mind having a nice balance myself. I have just as many followers as I do following, and that's a good thing. So, because you want to be able to keep up with what people are tweeting. And so you can retweet. At the same time, you want to be following people as well because they're going to follow you back. Okay, and that's how you can build up your Twitter followers, by following people. And it's as simple as clicking on a follow link. So the key here is to follow people who follow your content, people who are followers of your followers. And you can use Twitter's who to follow list and upload your email contacts to Twitter. Okay, since they know you, they're more likely to follow you back. Okay, so you can use Twitter's who to follow list. And so if we go back to Twitter, here's the who to follow list. And so this is what Twitter's going to recommend, but you can click on this link here, find people you know. Okay, so if I click on find people I know, then I can upload my contacts from Outlook or Gmail, and they're going to find people who are already on Twitter based on who I'm connected with. So generally, that's how it works. That's a quick way to get more followers, is to connect with people you know. By the way, I'm going to follow Simplilearn because I wasn't following them prior. So now I just clicked on the follow button. Now I am following. So now I'm going to see Simplilearn's tweets in my feed. So let's take a second to look at a brand. Okay, so it's time for a brand watch. Let's have a look at some of the best tweets of 2018. Now remember, there are a lot of active users, millions of active users. That's a lot of tweets. So what we did was we scoured Twitter from 2018 and we went ahead and picked out some tweets that we thought were pretty good. And so the first one is Wendy's. Now, I don't know if any of you have actually eaten at Wendy's. I used to eat at Wendy's a while ago. I know their Frosties are pretty good. So what they've done is they incorporated that Frosty as part of a giveaway. Okay, so basically they're saying, hey, grab yourself a free Frosty with any purchase in our app. So they're encouraging people to use our app, and then they're following that up by saying, hey, and then join us on Twitch from 2 to 5 Eastern as we unlock all that Frosty goodness. So they're promoting something that's going to happen on a specific point in time. This is of last January. They're encouraging people to use their app, and they're using that Frosty as kind of a carrot, if you will, okay, as a catch. It's a giveaway. So they were able to, basically wrap a bunch of things into one. So encourage people to take part, and I'm sure a lot of people went ahead and took part of this, but we could definitely see that 206 retweeted this tweet, 302 basically commented on it, and over 3,000 liked the tweet. So the tweet was good, and it basically engaged with users. Who doesn't like a free giveaway, especially a free Frosty? So that's why this particular tweet really does some justice for the target audience, their audience. They're giving something away to their audience just by allowing them to, use their app. Okay, so this tweet combines a lot into one, and I like it. Apparently a lot more people than I did, 3,000 plus, also like this tweet. And so moving on to how to increase your followers on Twitter, you want to mention other people in your tweets to increase engagement. So what do we mean by that? So let's look at Twitter. So go back. If we look at Simplilearn, just take a look at some of their tweets. What they're doing, if we scroll down here, they have hashtags. So they are mentioning specific hashtags, but you can also mention handles as well. So the hashtag is always going to start with either the $sign. But if we scroll down here, if you use the @ symbol, you're actually mentioning somebody. So in this case, we're mentioning Matt Bailey. So Matt Bailey says is Matt Bailey's handle. And so if you get a shout out to somebody, they're going to pick up on that. And then they're going to probably follow you. Okay, who doesn't appreciate getting recognized for something, especially something as small as a tweet? Okay, notice I can go ahead and click follow if I want to follow Matt Bailey, but it's not a bad idea to add people into your tweet. And you simply do that by just using the @ symbol and using their Twitter handle. It's a good way to get recognized by that Twitter follower. It also increases engagement because it's adding validity to the tweet. And it definitely catches the attention of the person mentioned. Remember, if you use that person's handle, they're going to see that you mentioned them, okay? And what it's likely going to do is start some type of Twitter relationship, okay? They're going to then follow you, you're going to follow them, and chances of them retweeting you in the future or mentioning you in the future is probably going to increase. And overall, that increases engagement. So another important thing you want to do is find and use hashtags that are relevant to your brand and audience. So this is a must. This is mandatory on Twitter. You need to use hashtags. Twitter's all about hashtags. Every tweet that goes out should have a hashtag. Okay, and so what you can do is figure out what hashtags are trending. So here, what Twitter does is they trends for you. So these are all specific hashtags that are trending. If it's Mother's Day, Happy Mother, hey, Sunday morning, whatever works for you. These are trends that happen to be moving, meaning a lot of people are using them, clicking on them. Okay, so you can use a popular hashtag. What I would also recommend is you use a unique hashtag. The rule of thumb is usually about 2 hashtags in a tweet. But that's a rule of thumb, but rules are made to be broken. Do what's best for you. If you want to include more than 2 hashtags, go for it. The only thing I'm recommending is include a hashtag. So find out what's trending. You could just look right in Twitter, or you could just create your own unique hashtag. It works both ways. But when you have a hashtag in your tweet and somebody clicks on it, then they're going to go to that particular handle, that hashtag. And so when they look at the hashtag, they're going to see all the tweets with that hashtag in it. So that's the idea behind hashtags. You want to have hashtags, okay? So if somebody clicks on a hashtag that you used, then they're likely going to see your tweet in that hashtag's feed, okay? So that's how hashtags work. You want to use hashtags, okay? But you want to use hashtags that are relevant to your brand and audience. That's really the key. So hashtags help your tweets to be found through Twitter search, thus improving your reach and increase the visibility of your posts. So that's another benefit. Twitter has search functionality. So somebody can simply go in and start searching on Twitter. So if I go back to Twitter, I can just do a hashtag and start typing in something like Spanish, and I'm going to get some of the most popular Spanish hashtags, or hashtags with the word Spanish in it. And so this is an idea for me that if I wanted to use a hashtag with Spanish in it, these are some ideas. But they're certainly searchable on Twitter. Okay, so if I just click on Spanish, okay, I'm going to be able to see all the hashtags with the word Spanish in the hashtag. So definitely use hashtags. It's the most beneficial feature of Twitter, bar none. So some reasons why using hashtags is also a good idea. Well, you're going to get more engagement and you're likely to get retweeted as well. So when you get retweeted, then that means more eyeballs, because if somebody sees your tweet and retweets it, they're retweeting it for their audience. And so it could go viral, so to speak, on Twitter. And that's where the engagement comes in. So if you're using a hashtag that's trendy, well, somebody might like that. Okay, if you're behind a specific movement, or you're following a specific baseball or football team or cricket team or whatever team you're following, then if you use that team and the hashtag, that could also get you some likes. So don't be afraid to use hashtags, mix it up, play around a little, use something unique, use something that's trending, just use something. But make sure it's relevant to the tweet. Find out what works for your competition. What works for them might work for you too. So, I work with Simplilearn, but, Simplilearn has a good Twitter account. They have lots of followers. They're doing a lot of tweeting. So if I wanted to be just like Simplilearn, well, I could simply just go to their Twitter account and see what they're doing. Okay, see what they're using as hashtags, see what kind of tweets they're implementing, and see who's following them. So I can simply just click on the 10,900 followers that they have, and what I could do is I can go through and start following the people that are following them. So just mimic your competition to some degree, or mimic others in the industry. Look at what they're tweeting. Again, start out by retweeting some of the stuff they're retweeting if it's good stuff, if it's a good tweet. Don't be afraid to retweet even your competitors' tweets. Okay, use unique hashtags. Use the hashtags they're using. Look at who's following their brand. So you can really learn a lot from others in your industry, including your competition, because what works for them, again, might work for you, especially when it comes to hashtags or people who's following them. Again, people who are following them would likely follow you if you're in the same industry. So it's as simple as looking at who's following them and following those same people. Remember, the rule of thumb is if you're following somebody, they're likely to follow you back. So again, you can analyze things like the number of followers they have, the frequency of their tweets, what their profile looks like, how they respond to the competition of customers. Okay, what are they tweeting about? What types of content brings them more engagement? Meaning, of all the tweets, which one is getting the most likes or retweets? Get some sense of what they're doing. And again, when I say mimic, I mean, really what I'm saying is pull best practices from that Twitter account. This will give you an idea what you need to do to get more followers. So it's always a good form of flattery when you can mimic what somebody else is doing. Just like every other social media platform, following Twitter influencers who belong in your industry is always a good idea. So if you're in the food industry and there's these star chefs out there, probably not a bad idea to follow those star chefs. If you're in the technology industry, well, probably not a bad idea to, follow Bill Gates or Elon Musk or Richard Branson or somebody else, and that's a big influencer, has an influence on a lot of people. Okay, but make sure they're in your industry. That's the key. If you can make sure they're in your industry and you follow them, chances are if they look at your Twitter account and see you're posting or maybe retweeting some of their tweets, they're likely to follow you. And if they're following you, your tweets are going to show up on their handle, on their feed. And so don't be afraid to go out and connect and follow those influencers. It's a good way to boost up your followers. So again, this will help you gain followers since you can replicate what they've done with their profile. So again, just like the competition, mimic what your influencers are doing. Okay, so people tend to follow people who follow influencers. So you're all of one like mind, so to speak. Okay, influencers might retweet or share your post if they find you retweeting favorites and replying to their post. So remember, if you're following a retweeter, or an influencer, and you retweet their post, chances are they might retweet one of your posts, and again, put you in front of a large number of people since they're influencers. So all of these are good, valid reasons to follow influencers, because if you're out to increase your reach and exposure, it's hard to ignore influencers in your industry. Okay, you want to use images and videos while tweeting. Remember, videos get multiple times more engagement than not using them. At the very least, use images. But you use images, don't use stock photography. Use images that are relevant. So one of these tweets caught my eye here from Simplilearn. So if I click on, here, it was further down here. It looked like, these are people who are engaging in a conference. And it might have been one that Matt Bailey was at. So it was a retweet from Matt Bailey, as a matter of fact. But you could see what Simplilearn's doing is they're including either a video or they're including an image in every tweet. And so that's likely to boost up engagement. So according to Buffer, which is another social media platform, adding a relevant high quality image in your tweets can help you gain more than 150% engagement. Okay, videos are 6 times more likely to be retweeted. So if you have an arsenal of video or even one video, don't be afraid to use it. My recommendation is try and use images as much as you can in almost every tweet. Images go a long way, and again, it's going to help improve engagement, meaning more retweets, more followers. Okay, more followers, more eyeballs. So it's a snowball effect just by using images. Okay, so let's take a look at another brand from 2018. Okay, pizza, always my good example to use on these webinars. I like pizza. Here, this just says it all. You know, they're talking about art and they're using pizza in the form of art. So they didn't really have to say much else here. This pretty much says it all. And they did get some retweets. They get some likes. So sometimes you don't have to say a lot to make your point. Sometimes just the image itself will do the job. This was actually not from 2018. This goes all the way back to 2016. So it still holds true. If you use an image, that image is going to get engagement. Okay, so on Twitter, just like most other social media platforms, you can promote your tweet. So you can use Twitter ads to do that. So you can promote your tweet, and what you do by promoting it is putting it up above so that most people will be able to see it. Okay, so let's see if we can find an example. If I go here, I can see this person is promoting their handle, but if I go down here, I can see a promoted tweet by Constant Contact. So they're promoting their tweet here. So it's not a bad idea if you have some media budget to go ahead and either promote your tweet or advertise on Twitter. So what that's going to do is put you in a more prominent position and get your tweets out there. And the whole idea for that is to get people to engage. Here you can see a call to action from Constant Contact. So if I click on that, I'm going to go to probably a landing page on their website. And so the whole idea when you advertise on Twitter is really just like any other social media platform, you want to put yourself in front of the right audience. And so Twitter's no exception. So with Twitter, you could put yourself in front of the right audience. So what you could do is you could promote a tweet, do promoted trends, or you could do promoted accounts. So you have a number of different advertising options on Twitter. What we just looked at was, looking at promoted accounts and a promoted tweet. So when you do advertise, there are advantages. You have to pay only after achieving your marketing objective. So that's a benefit of Twitter. The cost per click, it's a cost per click model, so it tends to be fairly low. You could tailor your audience. So again, you're picking and choosing who you want your promoted tweet or trend or account to be in front of. And its targeting is based on either engagement or it's based on keywords, i.e. hashtags. So really you could tailor who you want your tweet or your handle to be in front of. And so that's really the benefit of Twitter. If you have a lot of active users on Twitter, you can really put yourself in front of those active users if they're your relevant audience at a low cost per click. So it's definitely worth the test. So you want to offer Twitter support to your users. Okay, so I can't stress this enough. Okay, so what you want to do is when users have questions about your product, they're more likely to tweet you for support. Hence, they're likely to follow your account. So don't be afraid to use the messaging option as well. So we go back to Twitter. Okay, chances are somebody might have a question for you. Here you can look at Bing ads. It's great connecting with PPC experts. Can't believe tax season is here. We've got some great insights. So what they're doing is they're using the messaging app, but they're offering that messaging app in the form of customer service. So don't be afraid to use, direct messages to reach out to people in the form of support. What you don't want to do is buy Twitter followers. Chances are you're going to get the wrong followers. So even though it may boost your Twitter follow count, these bots cannot use or buy your products or services. So stay away from all sorts of buying of Twitter followers. You want to build your Twitter following naturally. Twitter is also cracking down on bot followers. So a lot of bot accounts that were paid to follow users were shut down by Twitter. So just my point is, everything we've mentioned to date is what you want to take advantage of. Okay, if you want to pay for something, pay for a promoted tweet. Reach out to influencers. Look at what your competition is doing. Use hashtags. Okay, these are all best practices and organic ways to build followers. So don't get involved with anything that's going to involve bots and adding thousands of followers to your Twitter account, because chances are it's just going to lead to no engagement. So create useful and relevant content. So what we started out by saying is, hey, if you're not sure what to do, retweet what somebody else is doing. Look at your competition's Twitter account, see what they're tweeting, get some ideas as to what you want to tweet. So you want it to be useful and relevant to your industry. Okay, you want somebody to engage. That's the whole idea behind Twitter. The whole idea is, if you're going to tweet something, you want to get somebody to engage with it. So use Twitter polls, your old recent blog posts, brand news, industry news, and events, and highlight customer stories. I mean, all of those are ideas that you can do to put content out there. Okay, so for me, one of the things I do is I'm definitely one for industry news. So if I'm in the industry of digital marketing, if Google did a recent algorithm update, I'm going to likely tweet about it or retweet it. I also am a blogger. So on my particular website, if I blog, I'm going to make sure that blog gets over to Twitter. So those are some ideas in which you can create useful and relevant content on your Twitter account. You definitely want to get that content out there, but you want to make it useful and relevant. Quality over quantity, because you want people to engage. So bring variety to the type of content you share. So I'm in digital marketing. I deal with pay-per-click, SEO, but am I going to just do pay-per-click and SEO? No, I know that analytics, I know that Google Tag Manager, I know that A/B testing, all of those are elements of digital marketing. So I'm going to branch out and talk about some of those things that support digital marketing. So that's an example of bringing variety to the type of content you share. So don't just stick to one thing. Feel free to reach out a little bit. Shake things up by sharing other forms of updates, like engaging quotes and questions. These work best when complemented by an image, and an act as a great discussion starter. So good point here. Even if you want to branch out of your industry and just throw in a nice, useful quote, it's always a good way to gain some attention and get some engagement. Okay, let's look at another brand and see what they've tweeted about. So we're looking at Forrester here. So think about emotional qualities and their implications. So here you can see customers that feel surprised or grateful or appreciated. They're sharing that insight with you. And so this was interesting when I saw this. So what I did was you see the hashtag here for digital. Basically, if you want to look at this particular study, I just went to Twitter and I typed in that hashtag, and now I'm going to be able to see some of the other studies that they've done. Here you can see top 10 IT trends shaping 2019. So I'm just following the Twitter handle that they used. So Forrester does a lot of good research, a lot of good insights. And so what they've done here that makes this tweet look so good is they've actually put an image of the results in the tweet. So they used an image to help gain engagement or increase engagement. Notice they also gave a shout out to somebody, as well as used some good hashtagging. So good tweet. This was back in 2016, but again, a good use of the image with the tweet. So you want to organize tweet chats to interact with your users and bring in new followers. So, you basically want to be organized when you're dealing with chats. So tweet chats enable you to send out tweets on a particular topic using a designated hashtag. So during a certain time to interact with your followers and other users. So you could do it at a specific time to really get out a specific topic. But you want to be able to stay organized so that what you're chatting about is reaching the right audience and you're getting the right following and the right engagement. Okay, you can also pin your best updates and tweets to your profile. So you can just use that pin, and what that's going to do is pin it to the top and keep it there so that people who go to your Twitter handle are going to be able to see that best tweet that you've done. So what you want to do here is use the one that's most engaging. So pinning your best update or tweet, meaning the one that's really had a lot of engagement, meaning retweets and followers and likes. You want to do that. You want to pin that to your profile, and that will enable first-time visitors to see it. And if they could see something that other people engaged with, then that's going to encourage them to share it and probably follow you. So, and that's always what you want to do. You always want to put your best foot forward. So pin your best tweet to your profile. So I mentioned this earlier, use tools to schedule when to publish your tweets. So here are some of the most popular platforms. I use Sprout Social. So if we take a look at Sprout Social, here I'm in Sprout Social. I'm connected to my Twitter account. I can simply just start tweeting about something here. So you can see it's going to let me know how many characters I have remaining. So 280 to start out with. When I'm done tweeting, notice I can add an emoji. I can upload media. I can tag a specific location. Okay, I can even, call out a specific Twitter profile. Now I can schedule this myself, or I can use the schedule below. I can pick and choose a time to schedule the tweet. Now again, you want to be able to use the Sprout Social, whatever social media tool you're using, to figure out when the best time of day and the day of the week to actually tweet. When are you getting the best engagement? So ideally, that's what you want to do. You want to tweet when you're likely to get the best engagement, when those eyeballs are actually going to look at that tweet. Okay, but you also want to separate out your tweets so they're not on one on top of another. Because if you actually tweet back to back, then those tweets are just going to get buried. So if you spread them out a little bit, then you're likely to maximize your number of impressions or eyeballs on that tweet. So if you schedule a tweet, multiple tweets in the same day, then post them a few hours apart or an hour apart. So that way you're always going to get that maximum visibility. So these social media platforms really help you in not only scheduling, but figuring out what tweets got the best engagement and when. And then that way you can replicate that success. So again, it's not just Sprout Social, Hootsuite, Buffer. They'll help you determine the exact time your audience is most active and schedule posts to increase traction. So, most of these social media platforms do the same thing. So really what you want to do is you really want to nail down that exact time your audience is going to be most active. Okay, that's the whole idea behind using it. And when you actually do tweet, you are going to get results. And these social media platforms are going to share those results with you. And then when you understand based on your audience behavior, when they're engaging, when they're not engaging, that's when you're going to fine tune your scheduling. So what you also want to do as you're doing these tweets, as we looked at earlier with Wendy's, is run contests or giveaways. Remember, Wendy's gave away that free Frosty. You don't be afraid to give away something if it means more engagement, more eyeballs, which could lead to basically future customers. So contests can help increase your reach and exposure, and each new participant can be considered as a potential follower. So it also gives your followers an opportunity to tag their friends who would be interested in participating. So really this is a great way to be creative, come up with a good idea to get your audience involved, because what's likely going to happen is your audience is going to share this contest with others that aren't following you. And so what's going to happen is when they share it, you're going to get more followers, you're going to get more eyeballs, and again, potentially more customers. So embed your Twitter updates on your website. You could simply do that. It's very simple, but when you do, then people to your website will be able to see your tweets. So if I just go to my website here, if I scroll down, we actually have Twitter embedded on our website as well, because we want people to see what we're tweeting about. And you could see I just retweeted the Simplilearn tweet at the beginning of this particular webinar, and it's showing up in my feed here. So that's when people actually go to my website, they'll be able to see what I retweeted, and that's going to help Simplilearn out, because Simplilearn is likely going to get some clicks on this particular tweet from my website. So it's also a good way to keep your website fresh and updated, because if you're an active Twitter user and you're tweeting a lot, then hey, that's going to show up on your website, and it's going to show that, hey, you're fresh, you're engaging, you keep up to date. It's just going to make it look good and make your website feel fresh and not stale. So embedding your Twitter updates will help you add new followers as well, because it's people who are coming to your website that may not even know you have a Twitter account. So you can also do this in a blog post, in a newsletter, and other forms of communication media. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just your website, but I would definitely recommend it because it will give a boost to your Twitter account. So now let's take a look at the final brand watch. Let's take a look at another tweet that caught our attention. And this is from PlayStation. So PlayStation is mentioning, hey, we got a multi-view on Apple TV today with support for up to 4 live channels on one screen. Okay, so they're promoting a new feature that they have with PlayStation. And you can see they supported that with an image, and they got some really good engagement here. So they're basically saying, hey, look what happened to us today. Check out this new feature that got supported on Apple TV. So you never know what's going to happen with a tweet. When you tweet, good things are likely going to happen, whether that be somebody liking it, retweeting it, or somebody adding you as a follower. Something good is going to come out of tweeting. Twitter is an easy platform to use, and if you take into account all these best practices, you are going to increase your Twitter followers. So I want to thank you again for hanging in there. If you guys have any suggestions about some other best practices on how to increase your Twitter followers, then feel free to add them to the comment section below this video. Otherwise, thank you again. If you need more information, please go to Simplilearn.com. Thank you.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.